JG Collects back again, wrapping up BlurredCon. This weekend has been an amazing weekend, and I'm always running into some dope artists and creators. And today I have Arthur who has a great story for you. I'm with
Mike Haynes-Pitts of the Surge series.
How's it going today?
Pretty good. We actually sold out of one of our books today, so that's good. And people are getting keychain stickers, prints of all the characters, so it's good.
That's what I love to hear. So what is your book about?
All right, so my book is an Afro-futuristic book series about a big event happens in futuristic West Africa. And some people get power, some people don't. Some use them for good, some for bad. A lot of different action adventure from that, from fighting the government, detective, war stories, road trips, a lot of different action.
So you have a lot of various elements from different genres. What was the main inspiration going into this?
So I travel a lot, and one of my big inspirations was going to West Africa. And so I wanted to write about it, and I am a huge sci-fi cyberpunk nerd. So I was like, how can I marry that together? You know, black people in Africa with cyberpunk futuristic, so getting the Afro-futuristic vibe.
How long did it take you to actually put this all into motion? Because that's kind of crazy with African culture and cyberpunk.
Well, the big thing for me with fusing them together is I always wanted to write about African culture and black culture in general, because that's what I love, but marrying the two is a big thing for me. Octavia Butler was a big inspiration, and she does a lot of sci-fi stuff with black characters as well. So I was like, how about I do that, because you're kind of mixing both of my genres together, like black culture and those stories, but mixed with mixed with futuristic ideas. For me, I love sci-fi, so I wanted to do that.
And I love that you're doing that and you putting everything that you love to do into your books. Now, what is your stories like mainly about?
The stories are mainly about people that have this power called the Surge. A big event happens, which I don't want to say because that's a big spoiler. But what happens is different people use the powers in different ways. And then sometimes the government wants to exploit their powers, as they always do with black people wanting to exploit, us. And then another big factor is that you have a lot of people fighting back and separate journeys. And the earlier books, there's a lot of gang issues that happen between people trying to make their own factions after the big Surge event happens. And then later on, I take some of the main characters' kids, and then they have their own adventures as well when they become adults. So I kind of have a family tree going through with a bunch of characters with this power.
I love the progression with the family characters and the lineage, because a lot of stories don't go in depth. It's just like maybe one or two main characters and they leave it at that. Now, how hard was it to continue to keep up these characters and to have like the idea for them?
It was hard. I think initially, like even my first book was a bunch of short stories that I kind of put together. And then I kind of started getting inspired by different characters. Some feedback from people be like, hey, I like this character a lot. And I was like, oh, maybe I can do more with them. And then I took a moment, and then to do my later books, I was like, I can keep the family going. People have kids. We can keep the power in the lifeline, so generations have that power. So my later books have been based on like keeping it going. Because of my travel, I was like, okay, we're going to go to this continent. Like the fifth book goes into Asia, and the sixth book coming out soon goes into South America. So all of my travels kind of bond to it as well.
I love that, and I love the artwork for the cover books. Artwork reflects everything. How did you even get the artwork to reflect the story?
So the big thing is I have an amazing cover artist, Adagun Ilyan. He actually works for DC Comics now. So when I first found him, he was freelance, and then he works at DC Comics. He does Milestone, the people that did Static Shock, Rocket, and Icon, and all of them back in the day. So he's doing some of that updated art from them. And biggest thing for me is like I'll find different inspirations from people I know, like a lot of the women I know in person for a lot of the characters. And then I'll like say like, hey, can you do this? Let's do this hairstyle. Let's have this skin tone. So he follows it pretty well. And I saw some of his earlier work. And so that's a big thing. And he's able to shape that up. I mean, even the cover of book 3 is based on Boys in the Hood. So I kind of just took that and flipped it.
I love that. I love the detail. I love how the artist and you as the author of this could come together and make something like completely phenomenal. Now, is this book something that like the kids can read, or is this just strictly for the older crowd?
So one of the books, the first book I wrote, is definitely for the older crowd, like kind of like high school, upper high school age and up, because I was kind of just going off the cuff, and I've re-edited it. The other books, though, I've toned things down and made things really helpful with glossary and other things. that things go 10 and up. So it works out a lot better that way.
And it does, simply indeed. Now, when it comes to your books, which ones would you recommend? I know you're going to say all of them, but which one is the one that you would really recommend to give people, a newer audience, in depth to this?
I think, so one of the ones that sold out is one that people I would recommend. But honestly, the book right here, this one is the first one I wrote, like, if they're mature enough, because that is the most mature book. And it kind of let them free to do what they want with it in terms of giving a sense of what I'm about, what the setting is, where we are in the city. That's a good one to jump in. The other one I think that's really good to jump into is this one right here, the fourth one, because that's where I'm using the characters from the early books, children, and they become the main characters. And it's kind of, my editor said it's some of my best writing. So I think that's another good place to jump in, because you're now with a new generation on their own journey that's not as connected to the other runs.
That is dope. And speaking of the new generation, how do you even get the new generation just to even read the books? Because everything's on like a laptop. Everybody wants things animated. So how do you present this to the new generation?
The big thing is, well, one, I used to be a teacher, so there's that factor. I kind of understand it a bit, and that having that glossary and the character maps really help them understand. And then a lot of the artwork helps them get into it. I do get a lot of help with parents being like, hey, you're going to read this. What happens, and I've gotten this feedback from a lot of kids, is like, hey, I really like it. Like, do you have more? Can I read more? Or they'll steal it from their parents to read it, actually, is what happens a lot. So it's kind of like, if the art brings them in a lot, then they'll read it, because I try and make sure the books are for that age group, and also that they can read it quickly. Like, there's a lot of action, there's good description, but it's not like lag time. So it kind of jumps from one thing to the next, so it keeps them engaged.
I'm happy to hear the kids is stealing books instead of their mom's credit card to go buy V-Bucks or something goofy. Now, this is kind of a two-part question. Would you, at some point, ever get this animated or turn it into an E-series?
So, speaking of other things in my past, as someone who was a film major, who knows a lot of ins and outs about film and TV production, I don't know if I ever wanted to. I'm even working on a comic now, and the comic is not these books turned into comic. It's a separate story that connects. So I still want the essence of the books preserved. I think it'd have to be like something really specific, and I get all my rights and decisions for that to happen. It would be really tricky because, for example, I don't have white characters in my books, and I know that would be a hard thing for a lot of media companies to deal with.
Unfortunately, that would be a tough sell, because you know how that goes, unfortunately. Now, people want to purchase this book. Where can they find it?
Besides catching me at a con and whatnot, or anything from my Instagram, the Surge series book, big thing is online. We have Amazon, we have Kindle, we have hardcovers, we have paperbacks, like all of that's online on Amazon to get. And they can also reach out to me if they want like bigger deals, if they're trying to get something for a book club or a class, something like that.
And speaking of cons, which shows are you going to be at later in the future?
The next cons coming up are, we have a Boston Comics in Color that's coming up. There's a East Coast, I want to say it's East Coast Age of Comics Convention in Philly. We'll be at DreamCon in Houston in May, the big one, and probably Atlantic Comic Con in Norfolk, Virginia. Off the top of my head, that's what I know I'm trying to go to, but we'll see what happens. I always want to get to New York Comic Con because I live there, but they are hard to get into, so...
Yes, they are. New York Comic Con is definitely something. You guys heard all that information, man. I'm JG Collects. We're signing out at BlurCon Day 3, and like that, I'm out.